Another blazing summer, and Caroline Habgood and Jonas Osterland are struggling to keep their house cool in Melbourne's inner west.
It's a Edwardian era house, so it's over 100 years old.
No insulation whatsoever.
In the winter, it's worse.
It's the fact that it's drafty, that's the problem. You're heating it up, but the heat just goes straight out. So it doesn't really matter what you do. It's still cold.
And that's led to power bills of about $400 a month.
Knowing the energy bills are high is quite stressful because we're actually trying to not run heating as much as we would like to even, and we're still finding it spiralling. So it's been a terrible feeling of bill shock each time. So yeah, but it's certainly spurred us on to do something about it.
It's an incredible motivator.
They're among a movement of Australians switching to a more energy efficient way of life. This house in Sydney, built by Catherine Wilson and Matthew Kosnick, is no ordinary home. It's called a passive house, where energy efficiency is taken to extremes.
We're both a bit of a tree hugger, and so wanted to do it sustainably minded and those kinds of things.
Catherine and Matthew wanted to cut their energy bill and reduce their impact on the environment. So they tore down their old house and built a new one, with lots of insulation and triple glazed windows.
A passive house fundamentally is a house that has negligible costs for heating and cooling, and the way you achieve that is by insulating it well.
Energy efficient passive house design comes from Europe, where the first passive house was built in Germany in 1990. What makes a passive house different to a normal house is that the room temperature remains stable despite the outside weather. You can really tell the difference on a hot day like today. Stepping inside, you can see that the temperature has dropped dramatically to the low 20s, and that's without air conditioning. While there are no official figures to compare the energy costs of a passive house to an average home, owners say they've seen a big drop. The average Australian power bill is between $1,100 and $1,900 a year. Some passive house owners say they're now paying $400 a year. In Melbourne's southeast, Claire Parry and Daniel Eason have embarked on their own passive house experiment, retrofitting their home built in the early 1900s.
For our retrofit project, we took a fairly old, cold, inefficient house and we chopped off the bits that were the worst. The worst problems in our old house was that it was cold. Our son was getting sick every year. We did not enjoy living there at all. Coming home to this space is pretty amazing. You walk in, you immediately feel cocooned. It's a cosy space, it's a warm space, so it's much lower than it used to be. We've saved about 80% energy, which before was about $150 a month, and now we're down around $20 to $30 a month.
In Sydney, architect Oliver Steele has built Australia's first passive house apartment block of 11 serviced units.
Australia currently and in the past has built essentially paper bags for living in. We build terribly. The essence of a passive house is that it's a naturally lit, super insulated, perfectly sealed, essentially esky for living in.
Under the National Construction Code, new homes are required to meet minimum energy efficiency standards. Although each state measures energy efficiency differently, CSIRO data shows New South Wales is falling short.
The energy rating system in Australia, I would say, probably needs to be overhauled. Our house, we can understand why it is leaky and why we have high energy bills, but there are new builds happening that are in the same boat where they're not built efficiently, and that's quite disturbing.
I think the Australian industry has a long way to go before passive house becomes the norm, but hopefully projects like this one and the houses that are getting some attention will encourage people to start demanding this from the industry.
While the upfront cost of building a passive house is up to 20% more than a conventional house, for those choosing to save energy over the long term, it works.
We're hoping to achieve from this renovation towards $0 energy bills. That is the goal.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.